Anadrol did something unusual. Before I got my glands removed, I couldn't take Anadrol. The first time I took Anadrol, I felt my glands the next day. It was very potent. So let's talk about gynecomastia. We got a bunch of questions about this. Salo says, does raloxifene plus AI stop Anadrol Gyno? Oh, we should talk about that. Steve, you were mentioning earlier the Anadrol Gyno. So I was somebody very prone to gyno. I had, by the way, guys, I developed gynecomastia as a teenager. Minor, thank God it was minor. It wasn't so obvious. Like you couldn't see through my shirt. But I had basically like puffy nipples for like, years. It was horrific. To be honest, by the way, like, how you're sensitive about your hair, Derek. I was so sensitive about this thing. It really bothered me as a teenager because I was a normal man. I'm not masculine in any way, and suddenly my nipple. So I really empathize with anybody that has gynecomastia, and I really understand how it works because I took hormones while I had it. So I watched everything change. I can tell. Anadrol did something unusual. Before I got my glands removed, I couldn't take Anadrol. The first time I took Anadrol, I felt my glands the next day. It was very potent. It does something progestogenic, I think, to the glands. Something odd. I don't know what it is. But anyway, back to this. So he says, does raloxifene plus AI stop Anadrol Gyno? Heard it cause gyno by other means rather than E2. Yeah, it does not. Raloxifene will. A SERM will. But for me, honestly, even Nolvadex wouldn't stop the Anadrol Gyno. It was something unusual that was going on. Now, generally, if it's estrogen, Nolvadex will, if you take 10 milligrams twice a day, in women, it'll stop their breasts from growing, even with cancer. So for me, I used to take Nolvadex the whole time I was taking hormones. But sometimes with Anadrol, it wasn't enough.
So I noticed that with the Anadrol Gyno, it doesn't occur when you run Masteron. I have no idea what the mechanism behind it is, but during a contest prep, when you generally run Masteron at pretty high dosages, which of course was prescribed in case of breast cancer, nobody experiences gynecomastia from Anadrol.
Interesting. I didn't know that. I mean, I think I have run it with Masteron and still had that effect, but
some really?
Okay. Very sensitive.
So you see that during the off season when you're generally a little bit more puffy, when estrogen concentrations are generally a little bit higher, and you perhaps compound that with nandrolone. So now you have a progestogenic compound that raises prolactin. And then Anadrol is kind of like the cue to set the gynecomastia growth off. There's a lot of compounding factors. But yeah, Anadrol by itself can induce gynecomastia.
I forget somebody, I don't remember who told me, but somebody told me that Anadrol, and this must be speculation because I can't imagine there's a study that shows this in humans, but it supposedly inhibits the clearance of estrogen too, which I don't know if it has to do with its hepatotoxicity or if it's inherent effects on estrogen receptors in some way. But there's thought that it agonizes estrogen receptors inherently as the parent compound, and then somehow downstream inhibits the metabolization of estradiol too, so then it makes it clear slower, hence increasing the estrogenic burden of whatever you're using multiple fold.
Could be.
So my approach to gynecomastia, like when I talk to consultations or something, people, first of all, I honestly tell people that if you really want to use steroids, you should go get the surgery first. If you have, and I know Steve hasn't had the surgery yet, so he doesn't agree with me, maybe, but I
do agree, but I just didn't have time for it, and at this point, I kind of don't care.
Once I got the surgery, man, I felt like free, like in the 90s when they didn't have social media. I felt wonderful. I could take all the steroids I wanted. Nothing happened. And interesting, one of the questions we got is when you remove the glands, do you become less estrogenic and overall? Do you have less other side effects? It was weird. When I did remove mine, I had less estrogenic side effects, less water retention from estrogenic compounds.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. And the drugs work better for me.
Maybe the breasts are just the primary source of aromatization.
Some kind of paracrine.
Leaks. Like the hair also has its own 5-alpha reductase activity, right? So maybe the hips and the breast tissue just have a little bit more aromatase activity compared to other tissues, and by removing that particular tissue, like a lot of guys that are very low body fat, they don't have so much aromatase activity anymore, right? But also the guys that went through a contest prep, they got nasty shredded and dry, and then afterwards, even when they do get fat, they don't get so much aromatase activity anymore.
Fascinating. Epigenetic.
Right. So, but I think it's just the aromatase activity within particular fat cells that are, more susceptible in particular areas.
But in particular, also, like if somebody refuses to do that, then sometimes people will. What I used to do is I always used to have Novadex, and I would just not control the estrogen. The problem is there's so much evidence of ocular damage, and so many people have booked consultations with me with eye floaters because they took Clomid or Novadex for 6
Oh,
months.
really? Okay.
So many people. So because of that reason, what I think to do, and especially if you don't know if you're sensitive, if you are not going to get them removed, and you don't know if you're sensitive, if you control estrogen like between 20 and 40 on the metric, I don't know what it is in the US metric, but between 20 and 40, something low like that.
Milliliter.
Yeah, if you keep it there and then you feel, this is how you feel it. Like, I don't know, Derek, have you ever had itchy? Have it ever happened to you?
Yeah. So like the worst time it happened to me was the classic decadebol test cycle, and I was in my car putting on my seatbelt, and I was like, "Holy fuck, that is really sensitive." As I was like getting in there, and that was the only time I had it like really. Actually, one time, another time I had it pretty bad was combining GH with MK677. Interestingly enough, MK really exacerbates gyno with
prolactin. It raises prolactin tremendously.
So anyway, that for me was I've never had like knowing it's itchy or something, or like feeling it tingly, but like I've definitely had any kind of like touching of it extremely irritating.
So
go
ahead. Sorry.
So I developed my gyno after I broke my leg in a motorcycle accident. I was completely drug free.
From the
I have no idea what happened, but I was at peak physical strength, and then I was bedridden for 3 months trying to recover from that. And then after a while, my nipples started hurting. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And I was trying, I was on mybrokenleg.com trying to read everything about how to resolve a broken leg. Yeah. Best website ever, dude. I was walking in 3 months, 3.5 months. I was walking.
They don't have them on my broken finger website.
I don't know why. No, and I did it without pharmacology, because I actually asked for a script of growth hormone. Because that has been shown to help in bone fractures, and then do some sonic therapy concurrently, where it just radiates some sonic sound waves into the bone, which helps with growth as well. But doctors in Holland, they didn't really bite to those kind of practices. So I was able to resolve that quite quickly. But during that time I developed gynecomastia out of nowhere. I was just sitting there raising my arm, and I was like, why does it hurt so much? And I had like a huge lump, which I did an ultrasound, and of course the doctor accused me for steroids. I came in a wheelchair. I said, dude, I broke my leg. Why would I running steroids? Come on. Yeah, you have a history. You do all this blood work. You do steroids. All right. Another reason to get the fuck out of that country. So I developed gyno just naturally at the age of 24.
It does happen in depression also, by the way. In depression, it happens also from marijuana sometimes.
I didn't smoke. I wasn't depressed. I think my hormone, I think my steroidogenesis was completely messed up because I changed my diet, and of course I was inactive all the time, and the only activity I would have was, like therapeutic movement to get a little bit of feeling back in my feet, because I couldn't. Yeah, we're running over time.
I just said time, by the way. Okay, wait, about this gynecomastia, I just want to say that I think what people should do is if they're gonna do that, which I don't think they should remove the gland if they're gonna do it, but if you keep your estradiol 20 to 40, instead of running Novadex all the time, you just feel your nipple. If you feel it being sensitive or at all itchy, even just sensitive, you'll notice it if it happens. If you feel it every couple of days, if you notice it, that day you can take 10 milligrams of Novadex twice a day, and then do it for a few more days, and you can up the anti-estrogen or aromatase inhibitor dose, or remove the progestogenic compound that you're taking. And then you can take off the Novadex. You don't have to just keep running it all the time. Just for
at least until blood work proves you. But the problem is a lot of people, they're hyper paranoid, and they get this phantom itch or phantom pain.
Oh, that's true.
I see that so much. Yeah, I threw, and then they crush their estradiol. They take everything out, and they still have this nipple sensitivity. Like they're overly self-conscious, right? And they send me videos, and I'm like, dude, there's literally nothing there.
Yeah, that's
just a lot of guys are critical about that too, So if you're really worried about it, I would go on a gynecomastia stack of test, D-ball, and nandrolone, and weed and kratom, and just hit it from all angles, grow it. No, grow it, and then go for
You're developing
the surgery.
You're developing a specialty in like creating these like stacks for people, things people don't want, like
right. But there's compound. A lot of people don't realize that, right? I'm going to take this, and this, and this, and I'm going to make the best gains possible. But it's like it's a very potent recipe for side effects, right? So that's what I would do if I ever wanted to do the gynecomastia surgery. Test DECA, Anadrol, and well, no wheat here, no kratom here, but I would find another way to raise my prolactin. And then, mix it up with the growth hormone, and then
kratom in Thailand? Isn't
it's
that
illegal
where
here?
But that's where
it's from Malaysia and the Philippines.
Oh, but it used to be in Thailand originally.
It's available here. I just don't want to take the risk. I'm a public figure. I mean,
Leo,
I'm not gonna take any drugs here. Are you crazy?
You wouldn't use raloxifene over Novadex?
No, raloxifene is superior. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay.
from what I've seen.
But
a lot of people get mental side effects comparable to Clomid as well, and that's pharmaceutical raloxifene. So I've heard guys who they feel depressed, they get the estrogen-like effects on 60 milligrams of raloxifene per day. I feel terrible, like on Clomid.
That's because it's more potent as a serum. Yeah, because Clomid is a very potent serum, so it's also lipophilic. It's getting in your brain,
right,
and it's inhibiting some of estrogen's effects on serotonin. That's what's specifically happening.
So there is a trade-off there that you will feel horrible potentially when you run raloxifene to get the gynecomastia under control.